What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about one dark horse contender I have in each UFC division. I think that there is a bunch of dark horse contenders in each division, but I want to highlight one specifically from each division, from flyweight to heavyweight, why I think that they're a dark horse, and why I think they could genuinely go and challenge for the UFC undisputed title. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please go down and hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and it would mean so much if you guys went down and hit it. It is free, and 97.2% of my viewers who watch my videos are not subscribed, so please go down there and hit that subscribe button. It would mean an absolute ton. And while you're down there, turn on the post notifications button just so you guys are always notified with more UFC content releases daily. But let's jump right into the video on my top 8 dark horse title contenders, one from each UFC division. I want to start in the flyweight division, where my dark horse contender is Tatsu Taira. Tatsu is fighting Brandon Royval in October, which I think is a very good number one contenders match. Now, there wasn't really that much depth in the UFC flyweight division. The other person who I was thinking of was Tagir Ulanbekov, but that boy cannot make weight to save his life. But I do think Tatsu Taira is a great fighter. He just came off a win over Alex Perez, where he was on his back and kind of made Alex Perez fall weird, tearing up his knee. But I do think that Taira is going to be able to go in there and has great striking. He's a great grappler, and I think he's going to go in there and possibly be able to beat Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval is a good fighter too. I'm a really massive fan of his, but I do think that Taira doesn't have the amount of fame as someone like that. I think he's an up-and-coming fighter, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about Tatsuro Taira in that UFC flyweight division. And that's why I think he's going to be the dark horse in that division, because he hasn't fought for the title quite yet, and he does possess an all-around skill set to be able to go out there and defend and compete with some of the best in that flyweight division. And that's why Tatsuro Taira is my number one dark horse in the UFC flyweight division. In the bantamweight division, I want to talk about Kyler Phillips. I think Kyler Phillips is an amazing fighter. He just fought Pedro Munoz at UFC 299, where he put on an absolute clinic. Kyler Phillips looks so fast coming up here, and I think he just scheduled a fight. I'm not 100% sure on who. It was not against. That was Mario Bautista who get Jose Aldo. He scheduled a fight with someone. I think it was Rob Font that Kyler Phillips is fighting coming up here very soon, and I think that is going to be a very good fight. And I think Kyler Phillips will end up winning that fight. But Kyler Phillips has shown me that his speed, his aggressiveness, and his just genuine ability to get the win in the UFC bantamweight division, I think is going to go and transfer for a very long time, ultimately going up there and helping him capture the title very soon. I think probably in the next couple of years, he's going to be a title challenger. I think that his potential has him top 8 in the UFC bantamweight division. I think he's that good, and I think that he possesses all the skills necessary to go up there and compete with some of the best UFC bantamweights currently in the division. I think he could beat someone like a Henry Cejudo. I think he could possibly beat someone like a Chito Vera, and he might be able to beat someone a little bit higher up than that. But Kyler Phillips is 100% my dark horse for the UFC bantamweight division. My dark horse for the UFC featherweight division is Lerone Murphy. He just fought Edson Barbosa this past May in a main event at the UFC Apex, where he looked absolutely amazing in that fight. Edson Barbosa is an amazing fighter. We all know he's been in the UFC for such a long time, and truly he went out there and defeated Barbosa in a very dominant fashion, landing so many different strikes and showing that he has all of the potential and all of the genuine just will and grit to get through that. We all know that Lerone Murphy had a crazy car crash injury when he was younger, that I think he broke his neck or some crazy in that, and he thought he was going to be paralyzed, but now he's going to challenge in the UFC, and I think that he is going to get so many good fights coming around this road in the UFC featherweight division. I think he's a great striker, a great grappler, and he has every single little thing necessary to go up and challenge with the top featherweights in that division. He just scheduled a fight against Dan Ige for UFC Abu Dhabi, which is going to be an absolute banger of a fight. Dynamite Dan is an amazing fighter, and you got Lerone Murphy in here who's going to swing for the fences and truly be in there to get heads. And I think that this fight is going to show why Lerone Murphy is my number one dark horse for the UFC featherweight division. As my UFC dark horse in the lightweight division, I have Rafael Fiziev. And Rafael Fiziev was on an absolute tear prior to fighting Mateusz Gamrot this year, where he tore his ACL in the second round after he beat Gamrot handily in that first round. Fiziev was on the uprising, and he got a fight with Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, we all know, is one of the best UFC lightweights of all time, which he lost in a very close decision. But Gaethje's on the tail end of his career, and I truly think that someone like Rafael Fiziev could go challenge for the title. Now, the only gripe against Fiziev is he's a little bit smaller for the division, but he is so fast and so powerful and so good for that UFC lightweight division. I think he stacks up against a bunch of different fighters in that division. I think a fight with him and Charles Oliveira would be so fun soon, and that would push him up to the title very, very, very soon. But although Fiziev is coming off a surgery, so that might be a little hamper him a little bit, but Fiziev has all the skills in the world to go up and challenge for the UFC lightweight title, and truly, I think he's one of my favorite fighters in the organization to watch because of how fast, of how explosive, and of how truly fun he is to see night in and night out against every single contender within the UFC organization. Next off, as my dark horse in the welterweight division, I have Sean Brady. And I don't know why everyone hates on Sean Brady so much. Sean Brady is one of the best grapplers in the UFC right now. He just beat Kelvin Gastelum by Kimura at UFC Austin last year, and one of the nastiest Kimuras I have ever seen. If that would have gone a tiny bit longer, Kelvin Gastelum's arm would have snapped in too, and that would have been absolutely crazy to see. But considering that Sean Brady has a great chin, and that he has one loss on his record, and that only loss is currently to Bilal Muhammad, who is the current UFC welterweight champion. I think Sean Brady possesses all the skills, and that loss is aging very well inside that division. Now, Sean Brady's fighting Gilbert Burns at UFC Vegas in September for his first ever UFC main event, and I think that this is going to be an amazing fight where Sean Brady could get the win against someone like a veteran against Gilbert Burns. I think Sean Brady is a better striker than a lot of people think, and I think Sean Brady has the best grappling in that welterweight division currently, which is loaded with different grapplers. But Sean Brady's jiu-jitsu is amazing. He's got so many different ways to win fights. He's a great submission artist. He's got great ground control time, and his striking is actually pretty decent, but I think that ground game, if he can be able to utilize it correctly, can allow him to truly get on the ground and get down there and get some finishes and ultimately make a push for the championship. And that is why Sean Brady is my dark horse in the welterweight division. As my dark horse fighter for the UFC middleweight division, I have Brendan Allen. And Brendan Allen is someone who is a contender, a top contender in that middleweight division, I think 7th or 6th ranked. And no one's really talking about Brendan Allen. And I think that is something that is absolutely crazy to me. Brendan Allen has come off 2 straight wins against Chris Curtis and Paul Craig in UFC Vegas main events, which are super impressive in my opinion. He went to a 5-round, really close decision with Chris Curtis, who is a great fighter, and beat Paul Craig in that 3rd round with a rear naked choke. Brendan Allen is now fighting Nasruddin Imavov at UFC Paris as the co-main event, which is an absolute banger of a fight. But if Brendan Allen can get that to the ground, he can truly do a lot of damage to Nasruddin and really show the world of how good he is as a striker, because he's not going to be as good as Nasruddin, but he is such a good grappler that he can really throw him around wherever he wants to on the ground. And truly, Brendan Allen is one of those fighters that has such great back takes. He's a great rear naked choke specialist, and he has so many good ways and good submissions to win. He's done so many calf slicers, and he's done so many different attempts and throwing up different submissions in UFC fights to where you can tell they're already in his arsenal that he trains daily. Brendan Allen is 100% the most untalked middleweight currently and the most unflashy middleweight contender, but he is 100% a fighter who is my dark horse of the middleweight division. As my dark horse challenger for the UFC light heavyweight division, I have Khalil Roundtree Jr. And if you've seen Khalil Roundtree Jr., which you guys all have, that boy is a monster. He is built like a tank. He is absolutely massive. And I think that power that he's possessed over and just he can hit people with truly is something incredible. He just fought Anthony Smith in his last fight at UFC Vegas on, I believe, December 9th of 2023. Which he got that fight in, I think he got a 3rd round knockout in that fight in incredible fashion. It was either a 2nd or 3rd round knockout, but Khalil Roundtree Jr. possesses some of the greatest power the UFC has ever seen in that hand, and truly, developing that Muay Thai style in Bangkok is one of those things that is absolutely key and essential for him to being able to further his time in the UFC. Khalil Roundtree Jr. is an absolute monster, and I believe that his chin, his Muay Thai style, and that just ability to truly go in there and just get things done in that UFC light heavyweight division is going to propel him to be able to eventually challenge for a title or be in the top 5 or top 3 in that light heavyweight division. That division isn't as stacked as some of the other divisions in the UFC, so I do think that Khalil Roundtree Jr. could take advantage and knock some of these dudes out above him. Ultimately, Khalil Roundtree Jr. is 100% my biggest dark horse in the light heavyweight division. And the last dark horse for my UFC heavyweight division is going to actually be Alexander Volkov. And you might be thinking, Alexander Volkov is the 3rd ranked fighter in the UFC heavyweight division. But no one's talking about Volkov eventually challenging for the title. It's always Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades. But Alexander Volkov definitely has a chance to challenge for the title. He just beat Sergey Pavlovich at UFC Saudi Arabia in a very dominant fight where he was putting it on Pavlovich handily in that fight. And now he's going to fight Cyril Gane, the second fight against Cyril Gane, where he originally lost a 5-round decision, and he's fighting him at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. But Alexander Volkov is an amazing fighter. He's one of the unconventional heavyweights to where he is 6'7", absolutely massive, but possesses really good striking and distance control to where he can genuinely challenge against some of these bigger fighters. Now, Volkov's only gripe is his wrestling game, but if he can truly get that wrestling game under control, Alexander Volkov is going to be able to go in there and defeat a lot of these heavyweights because of his striking ability and the actual just utter mismatch that possesses there because of that really great distance control and that length and size. Alexander Volkov hasn't beat someone like Cyril Gane quite yet, but I do believe in this next fight he has a great opportunity to beat someone like Gane, and I do believe that Alexander Volkov is the biggest dark horse in the UFC heavyweight division. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights Is It MMA, and please let me know what you think about these top dark horses in each of the 8 UFC divisions. I truly think that each one of these fighters has a chance to go on and challenge for the UFC title in their respective divisions, as well as hang around for a long time in the really top part of their respective divisions. If you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help support the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers currently, so please go down there and hit the subscribe button. It's free. And guess what? 97.2% of my viewers are not subscribed. So please go down there and hit that subscribe button. It 100% helps us out here in the channel on reaching our goal being 1,000 subscribers. And while you're down there, you might as well turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified when I release content daily. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. And I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.